Hello, Mechwarriors. I had an epiphany the other day, and that is to do a account where I can try the absolute worst of the worst builds on the battlefield. And that's what I did. I created a new account, seen right here, and as you can see, it's definitely tier 5, and the account is called I Like to Move It, Move It. And this account is for driving the absolute worst of the worst, murderer's row of the worst mechs on the battlefield. So I decided to do this because I wanted to see if there's some mechs that could actually be redeemed as possibly good mechs on the battlefield. Not like this beast here. This guy here is a monster. So I went to ChatGPT, I know, Chat AI, but it did give me a list of mechs, and it got one of them wrong. But 1 out of 5 isn't really a terrible mistake. So let's take a look at the list. Number 1 is the Zeus 6S. Number 2, Charger 1A1, Hatamoto 26T, Victor 9B, and the Gargoyle Prime. Well, the second one on the list I have a problem with because the Charger 1A1 is actually really good, but it's not wrong. The Charger 1A1 does lack a few different things on the list. Very little firepower for an 80-ton mech, historically infamous for lacking offensive capabilities, and even after balance improvements, it's still considered somewhat of a challenging choice, and I can agree with that. But I've had some really amazing matches in the 1A1. Maybe there's a lot of people that haven't. I would tell you that if you're going to run the 1A1, use the small lasers. Don't laugh. 7 is not a big damage output. But if you put the targeting computer Mark 5 or above on it, wow, huge improvement. The Hatamoto 26T, I don't even think I've ever seen one of those. The Victor 9B, I'm probably sure I have. It usually is like a wake of a falling mech behind me as I walk through it. And the Gargoyle Prime, whenever I see gargoyles on the battlefield, I think the same thing as when I see a Zeus. That guy must have done a team kill or a bunch of team damage, and he's punishing himself by driving that mech. I'm sure there's people out there that think the gargoyle is amazing, and I also think that bridges should float in the sky, but that doesn't necessarily make either one of us right. It is more right to say that a Zeus is an absolute terrible mech, and it is more wrong to say that a bicycle could also be used for fishing a tire. So that being said, let's take a look at the Zeus. So if we go up to the Mech Lab, which we can't really do here, and go to select a mech, and we go to Owned. Now, I've already done all these matches in advance using these different builds that I've come up with for this mech. But let's take a look at the mech overall. So, it has a really narrow profile this way. So as long as anybody is attacking you from the side, they're not going to have a lot to shoot at except for this big fat arm right there. You can't catch a break anywhere. So this is a really narrow arm here, and it does have decent protection with this here for the rest of the mech. But when you look at this mech from the side, or from the front on, it is terrible. It is a huge hitbox here just waiting to be shot at. You look at it from the back, basically, if you're driving this mech, you should just put a big target on the back that says, shoot me here. And it's this whole area here. It's just way too easy to shoot at, and the hitboxes on this are terrible. So the way you should be driving this mech is a support for heavies and a support for assaults. Not a tip of the spear build. The best way to run this mech is to support other mechs on the battlefield. And obviously supporting your team is really going to get you those big wins down the road. Now if you're expecting to do 1100, 1200 damage in this mech, I would sell it and buy something you can do 11 or 1200 in. You know, maybe punish yourself less and get that Charger. Or maybe even a Gargoyle. I don't know. A Victor. Executioner. I know some people that swear by executioners. I kill those things by the dozens. I don't understand. But anyway, back to this. Let's take a look at this in the Mech Lab. Now, I've come up with a few different builds that'll possibly make this thing redeemable, but we can't redeem the original build. The original build is terrible. 20 reduction in each one of the torsos, 30 in the center torso, 20 reduction in the legs, and 8 in the arms, and for some reason the head is fully armored. The next thing on the list is ammo. There's no case protection here. If you put case protection here alone, this could save you in the long run from having a really bad match where you end up dying. Case protection doesn't weigh anything. I mean, it weighs literally zero, nothing. Look, watch. It's not like we're lacking space there. And then if we just take this ammo here and move it over there. Oh my god. Look at that. If somebody shoots you in the head and it does enough damage to damage the ammo, they kill you, they've just done you a favor. Next thing is the heat sinks. I don't have a problem with standard heat sinks, but I do have a problem with the location. If you move these and put these up here, they're actually going to be more efficient. And I know there's people that argue about this on Reddit, but I don't read Reddit. So I would recommend doing that there. In fact, take this and move it over there. Putting it in the center torso, is it more of a benefit? Probably, but not as much of a benefit as doing this here. Look at that. The next thing is, this doesn't really capitalize on anything in particular. I guess if I was to do this build better, I would probably put the LRM ammo down here and then put the large laser in the center torso. That way, you know, in the event you get zombified, you still have good survivability, provided the fact that you still are reduced by a large number of the armor here. Now, when we come down here and take a look at the meat and potatoes, heat management is 1.61, which is stellar. I think they went way into making the heat management better to capitalize on the fact that this mech is basically not going to survive very long on the battlefield. So at least you're not going to die from overheating. Firepower is given at 39. Speed is 69.7. This doesn't have jump jet capability, so there's nothing to really even think about there. And of course, we're running a standard 320 engine. So let's talk about the quirks. The quirks is where this thing actually can sing, and you can really get a good tune out of this thing if you run this thing correctly. So missile velocity, plus 100%. Heat, 20% reduction. Cooldown, 15%. That's across all the weapons, by the way. Spread, minus 50. So if you run LBXs, LRMs, MRMs, SRMs, it's all going to be benefited there. Survivability, it's actually pretty good. Base structure, we're looking at 30% improvement. Left and right torso, we're getting plus 20. Left and right arms, we're getting plus 15. And left and right legs, we're getting plus 20. So it's got potential. We also have a crit chance receiving reduction of 25%. And we have a mech speed mobility of plus 7.5% for the top speed. So there are a lot to capitalize on here. If I was to change this build any more than this is what I would do here. I would spend a little bit of coin. I'd keep the standard heat sinks. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But this is what I would do. I would go ferro and then endo steel. Now, what have you just done? You've basically added a little over 5 tons of capital space. And as you can see, I don't have enough money to do this, but I did all these matches in advance already, and I've had to move money around in order to make this thing work. But this is what I was able to come up with if you were to make the original build viable. And I'll show you in the next matches coming up what this looked like as an OEM build. And this is without doing the ferrofibrous or the endo steel. It was with the standard armor, and you're going to see how terrible this build really was. But if you just did this right here, look at this. All that armor is coming back. We'll go down the rabbit hole of saying that 18 armor is reasonable to put on an assault mech in the rear, which I think it's not. I would go with 4 at maximum in the rear. But look at that. All this armor is coming back on just by simply spending a little bit of coin on endo steel and ferrofibrous. Now we could actually put an extra ton of ammo on board for the LRM. Look at that. And we could do an extra half a ton of AC5 ammo. Being able to stay in the battle a little bit longer, absolutely a must. So just doing those things there would make a huge improvement on this mech. Now when you go and look at this thing, it still has the same 1.61, but the armor is maxed out. Yeah, we got full armor now. And the firepower is still the same, but we have more ammo for that firepower. And the speed is also the same. So there's a lot of things you could do on the original build just to make it slightly better. That's what I would recommend. Not to mention, if you actually go into the paint scheme for this thing, it actually doesn't have a terrible paint scheme. So back to the original shitbox build. We're going to show you a match that I did earlier.
A few moments later.
Target spotted.
Early.
LRM ammo destroyed. Right torso critical damage. New target acquired. Right arm destroyed. LRM destroyed. New target acquired.
Target spotted.
Critical damage.
Now that match is over with and you saw how much fun I had in that match, we're going to go on to some other possible builds. And we're just going to run through these really quick, but you're going to see the benefits of running these builds, and then of course the matches that follow up. And I'll have the build codes in the description for these builds. So build number 1 to go with. Build number 1 is going to capitalize on the fact that this does have a spread reduction, at least in the form of the LRMs. So we have an LRM Artemis 20, and we have 3 tons of ammo for that. We went with a rotary autocannon number 2 and 3 tons of ammo there. And honestly, I just split up the ammo into different places because it's just a habit. But ultimately, you could put all 3 tons of the ammo in the left torso, because once you lose the left torso, it's really just kind of irrelevant at that point. But I just have this habit of splitting the ammo up into different locations because it just creates a little bit better safety. So I went with the rotary cannon 2, the LRM 20 Artemis, and I went with 4 of the medium lasers for survivability. I also have the advanced sensor package on board and laser AMS. And just for giggles, I put the Beagle active probe on there because these two guys working in conjunction give the LRMs a little bit more capability as far as firepower downrange. So we're going to go ahead and show you a match that I did earlier on this one in a little bit, and the other builds that I come up with. Moving on. Build number 2. Build number 2 is a MRM 40 and a pair of snub PPCs. This is what I would be referring to as supporting heavies and assault mechs in the battlefield and not being the tip of the spear. If you run this build here, you're going to definitely support your assault mechs, other assault mechs in the match. And I kind of want to say that the Zeus is someplace between a heavy and a medium, or a heavy and an assault mech, because it doesn't do either one really well. It's a little bit better than some heavies and a lot worse than some mediums. So it's kind of in its own class. So I would recommend this as a good support build because you're going to have laser AMS on board, so you're going to be able to shoot down missiles that are attacking you and or other players. You're going to have the advanced sensor package, so you're going to have the targeting gain time boost, and that's going to also help other players on the battlefield by you being able to help them with that. Sensor range boost as well is going to help some of that. And you're going to have the zoom capability, so you can see targets at 270 meters to 540 meters, and being able to shoot them a little bit better and get maybe better target placement. But yeah, I was kind of making a joke there because these snub PPCs have terrible range, but they do 10 damage each. So we have a firepower on this build of 60. Is that right? Yeah. And we have a heat management of 1.51, which is not terrible. Moving on. This is my least favorite of the builds. This build here has 4 light PPCs, MRM-40, laser AMS, advanced sensor package, and the Beagle active probe, and it's still 4 tons of ammo. I didn't like this one so much because I just felt it was really hot. And with a heat management of 1.24 and a firepower of 62, as long as you chain fire these or put these in groups of 2, it's not that terrible. But if you try to fire them all at once, you're going to see that heat management just skyrocket. And considering I'm running all these builds with no skills added to them whatsoever. So there's some... I really hate this build. Moving on. Oh, same build. Whoops. Number 5. Number 5, like the snub PPC build, I feel like this one really is going to capitalize on the spread reduction the best. And the cooldown as well. So we have a LBX-10 over here with 3 tons of ammo. And we still have the 4 medium, or 4 medium lasers, I should say, and the MRM-40 with 3 tons of ammo for the MRM-40. I went with 3 tons of ammo for the LBXs so that you can trade back and forth between left side and right side with this build and be able to do some decent damage on the battlefield, I guess is the best way to describe it. So this build is capable of doing greatness. And you'll be able to see a match on the battlefield with this one as well. So these builds all have a few things in common that seem to work really well. But the biggest thing is to understand where your placement on the battlefield is. You're not the tip of the spear. You're here to support heavies and assault mechs. You're not going to go into really great ranges. You want to be able to duck and cover, shoot around corners. You know, doors and corners is where people get killed in matches and in other gameplay as well. So you basically want to support everybody in the front line. And as long as you work as a team together, you can have some amazing matches. And by the way, the heat management on this build here is 1.45, and your firepower is 70. So you're going to be able to do some decent damage and support your teammates on the battlefield. And of course, once again, we have full armor. Am I missing anything here? No, I'm not. And as you can see, you don't need to do 18 armor in the rear. So you're going to see in the matches coming up, set this back to reset. You're going to see in the matches coming up that there are a lot of capabilities with this mech, and being able to have yourself in the right place on the battlefield, supporting your team is going to make a huge difference in your battle play.
Need assistance.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
Got him.
Target acquired. Warning. Missile. Warning. Incoming missile. Right torso critical damage. Warning. Incoming missile.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
Sorry.
Target destroyed.
Target spotted.
Ammo depleted.
Damn. Oh,
Target
yeah,
destroyed.
baby.
Nice. Turn against one. Oh, sorry. Forward against
You also killed yourself.
Yeah, I know.
one target.
Which is fine. I was getting missile for that. Need to get the guy up high. He has the missiles.
Got him with my heavy gal.
They got him.
Gee. Nice.
Good
guy.
try. Yeah.
GG.
I was like, I can't see through the fire, but I've got the target. Fire.
That was one hell of a shot, dude.
Yeah, it was.
Artillery strike online. Artillery strike activated.
Can someone get that rotary helicopter sitting in case by itself?
Where did he go?
Artillery strike online.
Target spotted.
Damn, did he fly up on top?
We've already gained a quarter of the resources. Keep it up.
Artillery
Zeta
strike
is controlled by the
activated.
enemy. Target spotted.
Target acquired.
Target spotted.
Not the tip of the spear.
Enemy is at 25%. Target
Man,
spotted.
really good.
Need assistance.
Sorry. Tight quarters here. Go get him, Atlas.
Target spotted. Thanks.
New target acquired.
It's like it teleports the missiles to the target. I love that.
New target acquired. New target acquired.
Nice kill.
Under enemy control.
We can win this. Well, not the capping part, maybe the kills.
Hostiles have collected 50% of their resources. Capture resource points from them to stop the bleeding.
Even if I lose a torso. Yeah, nice job on Sigma.
New target acquired. Target destroyed. Right
Ouch,
torso
that got
destroyed. Right arm
They
destroyed.
have resource point camera.
MRM destroyed.
Target spotted.
We're turning that brown upside down.
Target acquired.
That guy's pretty much one shot. He's gonna hide, probably. Assault mech in the back lines, Bravo
They're
2.
almost there. Stop them at all costs. Need assistance. Halfway to victory. We need to keep holding on
most damage I've ever done in a Zeus ever.
Warning, incoming missile. Destroyed.
Ah, nice shot.
Destroyed. Weapon explosion detected.
Nice job, Charlie Brown.
Destroyed. Airstrike online.
Trying to figure out what that last weapon he had is. Ah, 2 heavy gauss. Wow. I had 2 killing blows, 8 assists, 3 kills, most damage dealt, 40 team damage. Ooh, that was that guy that got in front of me and probably stepped into my arty strike. I put the arty strike in the tunnel when nobody else was there. I shouldn't have gotten penalized for that. That guy walked into it. A little light mech. He kept walking in front of me too. And 727 damage, 855 taken. Youch. And I got a lot of lance formation. Perfect on that. How'd I do against the rest of the team?